Hey there, this is Natalie, and I'm still working on my next scripted video, which is just taking a little bit longer than I was expecting for me to be happy with the script. It's about how flawed protagonists are perceived by audiences, specifically comparing Rudius from Mushoku Tensei to BoJack Horseman, because I just watched BoJack last week while I was house sitting for my dad, who has Netflix, and I wanted to talk about it, even if I'm very late to the party. Still, while I keep working on that, I thought I'd put up this stream highlight video, which is from one I had a lot of fun with. We talk about all kinds of subjects, from KonoSuba through to British swear words, and I hope you enjoy listening to it. It'll almost certainly get demonetized for all the language in that part, but it was fun, so I'm leaving it in. As I said in the intro to my last edited stream video, there will be a lot of Mushoku Tensei content on here coming very soon, as we get closer to season 2. And there will also be post-episode streams over on Twitch, as well as the usual topical or chat streams like this one. So please consider subscribing here and to my Twitch channel, which is also called NatalieXHunter, ready for that. I'm really hoping the Mushoku Tensei content will do well and get me out of the bad financial situation I'm in due to various things that have happened lately, which I went into in the intro to my last video, as well as on streams, so I won't go over again, but I am still in a position where I have to do the embarrassing e-begging, because I really don't want to do OF. So if you can afford it and want to help me keep on going, there's a link to my coffee in the description. If you're going to simp for a sad e-girl this month, please let it be me, yeah. There's no outro on this one because I say goodbye at the end of the stream segment, so it would be a bit redundant. So I'll thank you for watching and say thank you to everyone who has helped me out during what's been another very difficult time right now. I love you all and I hope you enjoy the stream. Hey everybody, I am now live and I'm wearing this Megumin dress. So, I have no plans for this stream. I was really just going to kind of just talk to you all about whatever you feel like talking about. So we don't have any video to react to or anything like that. There has been an update on what we were talking about last time I streamed in terms of Vosh. He's made like a very long-winded apology video, but I don't really feel like dissecting it, if you know what I mean. It's very much, you know, what he would call optics, you know, like just trying to make it look better when the things that I didn't really like about him in the first place weren't really anything to do with that incident anyway. So I don't really want to retread all of that, but if any of you have any opinions on it, then we can talk about it. HJ5 says Megumin but not flat equals perfection. That would just be union. I think I would be alright in the Crimson Eye Demon tribe because I can pull off a bit of Chunibyo, but my favourite waifu from KonoSuba is Darkness. They just didn't have an outfit for her, so I got Megumin's instead. I do really like Megumin. I like the way she's kind of almost an homage to like Lena Inverse from the Slayers. When she does her spells, it's very much like a kind of reference to the Slayers, which is a really good anime from the 90s, but was also one of the first light novel series to even be called a light novel. So a lot of the tropes in it, although it's not an isekai, it's just a normal sort of fantasy thing that kind of comes across like someone's D&D adventure, basically. You know, it has a lot of the stuff that you see later on in the more light-hearted isekai series, and I just I think it's really cool the way KonoSuba kind of pays tribute to it with Megumin. And I really love the KonoSuba movie where they go to Megumin's village and everybody's just a complete tunie. It's hilarious. HJ5 says, my favourite's the one Megu doesn't like, blanking on the name, Yun. I really loved it in Isekai Quartet, where they had like the classes, and there was like the A class, the B class, and then there was a class that was just Yun on her own, because like the whole joke is she doesn't have any friends, even though she's like super nice and everything. And yeah. Cap says crossover Magia Bizer / Darkness. There is crossover art for a game that actually had Eris crossed over with Darkness. What a time to be alive, you know? I retweeted it because it was just like, that's what I want to see. They kind of they crossed over. I think Sylphie was Aqua, which doesn't work quite as well. And Roxy was Megumin, which, you know, like outfit-wise, they do wear quite similar costumes, so that kind of worked. But Aqua, Sylphie, I don't know. I think that Sylphie would be better crossed over with Emilia from ReZero. Marcus Aurelius says, I will always be Yun's friend. But that's like kind of the point, is like of all the characters, she's one of the like normal ones that you would want to be friends with, but nobody does because they're all assholes in that world. Meowku says, sorry, I love Aqua, she's still best girl. I love Aqua too, I just didn't think it was like the perfect crossover with Sylphie. It more kind of felt like they had to do one-to-one with all of them, and Eris and Darkness was kind of an obvious one. Roxy and Megumin have quite similar like dresses, so you could do that, and then you're kind of left with putting Sylphie in Aqua's costume, which doesn't really like match as characters go. I do love Aqua though. Marcus Aurelius says, but La Latina is my waifu. She's my favourite too. I really love how like you know, in Sword Art Online Alicization, it's the same voice actress playing Alice, and Alice is just basically like if you played Darkness straight, you know, like if she actually was like a noble paladin and all this sort of thing. It's like it works really well. But I love Darkness. I think she's hilarious. Green Warrior, thank you so much. People getting some nice tier 1 subs to my channel. That's very lovely of you. And so you get Ara Ara. Thank you, Green Warrior 291. And welcome to Plokbla, Ashenbear, Killian Khan, Dragon Gus, and Jasonio, who are now subscribed thanks to Green Warrior's contribution. It's very lovely, thank you. HJ5 says, nope, I've never watched an actual SAO. Well, SAO's good. I mean, like, it's not something I would recommend on the same level as I recommend things for their writing. You know, when I recommend like ReZero or Mushoku Tensei, something like that. When I recommend SAO, it's more just because you will have a good time watching it. You know, I mean, like, there was a lot of hatred towards it for a long time, largely started by a certain YouTuber that we're not really a fan of. There are parts of it where I just think the story is ridiculous, and I do think that Reki Kawahara can't really write certain types of character very well, but at the same time, it's like a fun adventure. It's, you know, like, the animation's great, and yeah, I don't really see the point in all the hate for Sword Art Online. And I did enjoy the story of the Alicization part. At least the first half of it got a bit insane in the second part when they started to bring back all the crap sort of online stuff. Like the people from Ordinal Scale and stuff. But like the actual idea of it was pretty good, I thought, you know, and it was enjoyable to watch. It was just a franchise that got a lot of hate for not being, you know, for being kind of mainstream and not very, I guess, highbrow or whatever. But are we really watching anime for that? You know? Necro's here. Hi, Necro. How you doing? And Brandon's here as well. He says, ara ara. I say ara ara back. Necro says, SAO is only good when Reki has nothing to do with it, i.e. GGO. I haven't actually watched the Gun Gale Online alternative. I've heard it's pretty good, though. And yeah, that was the part that Reki Kawahara didn't write. Reki Kawahara, he can write fantasy characters. Like, in Alicization, characters like Alice and Yu-Gi-Oh! Were pretty well written. But what he doesn't seem to be able to write very well are just, like, normal teenagers or gamers or whatever. It's like, none of the stuff they ever do or say is, like, anything any normal person would actually do or say. So you get that kind of, like, you know, it just doesn't really work. But the story's still interesting, you know, like, there's still some stuff going on that's worth watching. I don't think it's something to hate on, you know. Brandon says Reki always improves a lot in Progressive too. Yeah, I haven't read or watched Progressive yet, but I have heard that that's the case. And it's understandable, you know, I mean, like, when you read early volumes of quite a lot of light novels, I think a good example is Shield Hero. It starts off like, there are things to like about it, but it's not brilliantly written, you know? And you can see the writer improving as they go through the volumes. And, you know, the story's still decent, the characters are still decent, but you can see that there's other aspects of writing that they just haven't really got the hang of yet. And then they start to. And I think with Reki, it was writing realistic, especially female characters. That's something he's talked about in interviews before. It's not like a criticism I'm levelling on him. It's just that he's said before he doesn't really know what to do with them, so he makes them love interests. And that's why Kirito has, you know, like, he has one main love interest that he gets together with right early in the story, but then every other female character has to be kind of written as a love interest. And I think Reki kind of grew out of that and learnt a bit more about writing. And so you got slightly better characters, you know. But I do think he is better at writing fantasy or sci-fi characters than he is at writing a realistic, you know, like, gamer or something. Because those characters always behave in just a way that just seems ridiculous, you know. And it's okay because it's Sword Art Online, you know, you can just follow the story, buy into it, whatever, you know. I mean, like, he's aware of his own shortcomings and he is getting better. Junk44203 says, why did season 2 of the anime seem so bad compared to the manga in Shield Hero? Well, I haven't read the manga, I've only read the light novels. But I guess the reason season 2 seemed so bad was just the amount of stuff they cut and the way that they decided to sort of restructure it. I think season 3 was a lot better. Season 2, I thought it would get better as it went along, and it did. I mean, like, the part in Glass's World I thought was still quite decent, but the Spirit Tortoise bit, yeah, that was, it wasn't good. It kind of raced through that part of the story. I mean, it's partly because that part of the story isn't the most compelling part anyway. And I can kind of see why they wanted to get to the next arc, because they thought it was more interesting. But in doing that, they still had to cover the stuff in the Spirit Tortoise arc because it's still relevant to other things. And, you know, they still had to establish what was going on with the other heroes. They had to establish who Ost was and all that sort of thing. The part of the story is still relevant to everything that comes later, but it wasn't necessarily the best written or most exciting part of the story. And the part that they cut, which was kind of a training arc that would have happened right at the beginning, that kind of leads to problems later on. Like, we didn't see why Eclair had any kind of relationship to Ren. So when you got to the bit where Ren is, you know, under the influence of the Curse series weapon, and Ren is fought by Eclair, and, you know, they kind of reach an understanding, and that's what saves him. It loses a lot of its meaning when you didn't already have that kind of initial meeting between them at what would have been at the start of season 2 if it had been included. And there was a lot of stuff like that, but I do think that season 3 was better and, you know, showed a lot more promise. It is generally a better part of the story, but you know, we've had like good series have bad seasons before, you know. I mean, like with Overlord, there was quite a lot of crappy graphics and stuff in like season 3 and things like that. You know, it doesn't really devalue the plot of the main story, or mean that the continuation won't be any good. Sometimes there is just, you know. Riddy Biswas says, are you worried about Mushoku Tensei Season 2 Core 2 due to staff changes? No, not at all. I don't worry about that kind of thing. I think it's actually quite self-defeating when people are always like, oh no, this will suck, before there's even a trailer, let alone anything that's been made. I have faith in the source material, and as long as they keep being as true to the source material as they have been, if the staff changes, the staff changes. You know, people can't be expected to work on the same thing forever. I just don't like this, like, everything is terrible, let's all assume it's all doomed and it's all going to be rubbish because this person isn't doing the animation on the action scenes anymore or something. It's like the negativity you get around ReZero, like, especially, I don't really like when that bleeds over. Yeah, sometimes we do get a bad season of something. You know, we were talking about Shield Hero Season 2. Overlord has had some bad seasons, you know, and yeah, that can happen, but I don't worry about it, you know. Like, I don't sit and think, oh no, you know, my favourite story won't be as beautiful on the screen. You know, there will be moments in it where you think, well, that wasn't that great, you know. There will be moments of it probably that you'll think are amazing. I already know the story, so I just want to see that presented in a way that, you know, fits with what it deserves. And I think that based on what we've already had, we will get that. But the doomerism, it just doesn't appeal to me. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy being like, oh no, if they don't have exactly these people working on it, and they don't have 400 episodes that cover every single thing, you know, it'll be bad. And yeah, that is the case. People talk about ReZero that way, Mushoku Tensei as well, but to a lesser extent. I think with ReZero, it's partly because we have had to wait like 4 years between each season, which does make you kind of think, well, if I have to wait 4 years to see what happens in the next arc, they can, you know, they can make it something really special, you know. The Bowman says, I'm sure you're not wanting to spoil it, but do you have high hopes for season 3 of ReZero? Just started reading arc 6 in the light novels, so my mind has been on it for a bit. I believe ReZero season 3 will cover arcs 5 and 6, which just based on the art that's been shown, it has characters from arc 6, and arc 6 isn't something I think you could kind of finish halfway as a cliffhanger. So I think they'll do probably 2 cores, and one will be arc 5, one will be arc 6. I think that is suitable. Arc 5 is very action heavy, so a lot of the stuff that takes quite a long time to read won't take quite as long to happen on screen, if you know what I mean, without spoiling anything. Arc 6, there is a lot of stuff you could cut at the beginning, like a lot that you could cut from arc 6. It doesn't really serve any purpose, and once you get into the meat and potatoes of arc 6, I think that probably could be covered in 1 core as well. Arc 6 is very important and very interesting. Arc 5 is good as well. Arc 5 is a lot of fun, but Arc 6 is probably one of the best arcs, but then it is very slow to get started. And yeah, like, the purists will want to see every single hanging around the mansion saying goodbye to Petra for 2 chapters kind of stuff adapted, but there's no reason to really do that, you know, like... Asmeister1989 says, have you ever tried an anime called History's Mightiest Disciple, Kenichi? If not, I think that's a great one, but rather underrated and unknown. Yes, I have seen that one. I love it. The second season went a bit strange, but the first season where he's just training with... Basically, it's this boy that gets bullied, and he signs up to, like, train with this group of, like, martial arts masters. They're all masters of different styles, but they're all, like, really quirky, you know, and he basically trains under them, and then he takes on, like, the local delinquents and stuff. But it's very funny, and I don't know, it's one of those kind of fighting anime that's also kind of motivational. Like, you see the way that he trains and stuff, and you think, yeah, I want to train like that. But you don't really want to train like that. Just looking through the comments, seeing what people are seeing. Brandon said that Reki confessed the reason he had issues was because his writing was based on what he used to read, but he began writing characters better later. And then he says Digibro was an Evangelion dick sucker. I still haven't watched Evangelion. I'm still behind on that. But I'm not a fan of Digibro. We've had... Well, it's not Digibro anymore, is it? It's like IG Studios or something. But I had an argument with her during... Well, she made a video about the Assassin Aristocrat anime. And it was like going on about how the person that wrote this, which was Rui Tsukio, who also wrote Redo of Healer, must have like a fetish for mothers, because there's like a little bit of an allusion to his mother being a bit pervy, you know, in the isekai setting of this story. And I was like, mate, just because you put something in a story doesn't mean that you're into it yourself. It's just, there's none of that in Redo. It's just like a one-off thing that is barely featured. And people will put in things like that for character reasons, or just because they think it's amusing to put in a story, or because they think that maybe the people watching it might be into that. You know, it doesn't you know, like, not everything that goes into a story is the writer's barely concealed fetish kind of thing. That was the point I was trying to make. And the artist formerly known as Digibro was like, no, he's definitely into mums. And I'm like, well, why though? Why? There's barely a factor in that story, and it isn't in any of his other stories. You know, like, why are you just looking for things like that? You know, and I find things like that really strange. Like, when people assume that you can only write about something remotely sort of fetishy or whatever if you're into it yourself. Because I mean, I've written about all kinds of stuff that I'm not particularly into. It's like I can write someone who's got a phobia of spiders without being scared of spiders. As long as you know what it's like to be scared of something, you can write what that feels like for that character. You know, so if I can write about somebody being aroused by something I'm not aroused by just because I know what it's like to be aroused by something, that's kind of how it works. You can write about you know, like I said, any kind of fear, any kind of bad experience. You know, Tape Nagatsuki doesn't know what it's like to be killed over and over again, but I'm sure he knows what it's like to be scared. I'm sure he knows what it's like to be, you know, isolated and all that sort of thing. And that's what he puts into the situations he's creating. And you do basically the same thing when you write erotic stuff. You basically, you know, the stuff you like and what it feels like when something feels good for you, and you just apply that good feeling to something different to what you're into. You know, it's just kind of empathy. You don't really, unless it's like some kind of fan fiction or something, you're not normally writing what you're into. You're writing what works for the story. You're writing what works for your target audience. You're not just going, well, I think it would be really cool if this happened, you know? Like, and, yeah. Asmeister1989 says, Kenichi is one of my all-time favourites. You can't dislike Apachai. Apachai is this, he's this Thai boxer, and he's like the sweetest guy. He's like super nice and everything, but he's known as like the god of death, because when he starts fighting, he's just so extremely good at it. And, you know, he goes like, and he's really cool. And yeah, he's like the most likable person, but at the same time, terrifying. He's great. HJ5 says, you're making me think of Mother's Basement saying the maker of Nekopara most likely had a fetish without knowing it was a woman. Yeah, I mean, that was an embarrassing time for him, wasn't it? It's like Nekopara was made by like a married woman. She just wanted to make a fun thing about cat girls. You know, I would do something like that. It's just like, yeah, people that make those assumptions, I think, are normally projecting. It's normally that they could only write something that they were personally into, which isn't really how you become a good writer. It's how you become like a Harry Potter fan fiction writer, not how you become a commercial writer. You kind of have to be able to relate to other people. And so not everything that you write is going to be things that you personally fantasize about or whatever. It's just stuff you made up, which is different. Cap says, are they drilling next door? Yeah, there's always somebody doing some kind of strange, noisy thing around here. There seems to be some people across the street who just power wash things all day, you know. It's not the ideal place to live when you're making content, I have to say. Bowman says, damn, by that logic, the mangaka for gushing over magical girls has a lot of fetishes. Yeah, you'd have to assume that the person that wrote that, I don't actually know if that was written by a man or a woman, but you'd have to assume the person that wrote that was like some kind of hardcore sadist or something. And I'm sure they're not. But that's just kind of the thing. You people can, you know, you wouldn't think it was strange if I wrote a book and the main character had like a phobia of something. I don't know, like say they have a big phobia of water or something, and that's something I put in the story. You wouldn't read that and go, well, she must have a phobia of water to be able to write that, you know? And yet with anything like that you make a character interested in sexually, people will be like, yeah, you must be into that, you must love that. And it's like, no, it's just something I came up with. I thought was cool for the story. Anarcro says, isn't it almost 10 p.m. at night? Who does drilling that late at night? I don't know. Crazy people, I guess. But there are crazy people here. The Bowman says, well, got to go back to work. Have fun, everyone. Okay. Good night, Boney. Thank you for coming. But Balsamon's here, so hello to you. Mentat says serial killers. Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's just that, I don't know, actually. I don't know why anyone's drilling at this time of night, but they're always doing something like that. Always. And then in the summer, they don't do it anymore. I think they're just, like, preparing their apartments and everything for the summer. And then in the summer, you just get, like, people listening to Despacito in nightclubs instead. Killian Can says, writing is an act of imagination, and imagining something doesn't have to be a lived experience. My D&D campaigns usually involve some eldritch god. I'm not a cultist, I swear. You're not hanging out with the deep ones, or whatever. Cap says, where is Jimothy? That is a good question. I thought we would have a Jimothy. We don't though, it seems. We'll know about it when he shows up anyway, if he does. HJ5 says, found the name of the mangaka, but not if it's a man or a woman. Yeah, sometimes you just never know. Like, it's still not actually known if the author of Shield Hero is a man or a woman. A lot of people believe it to be a woman because the mangaka is a woman. But it's actually still just not known whether the author is the original author of the light novels. I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? Really. It wouldn't change our opinion of the story or anything. But it does change, you know, when people are saying, this was all written for the male gaze or whatever, you know, when it wasn't. It was just, this is what we thought would be cool in the story, you know. Killian Can says only Nyarlathotep comes by on weekends. That reminds me, has anyone seen this anime? I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically about that. It's like if an eldritch god, like Nyarlathotep or whatever, was a cute anime girl, and she just like hangs out with this guy. It's like Nyako-chan or something. Has nobody seen that? It was funny. I seem to remember it being good. Marcus Aurelius says, Jimothy always makes a grand entrance. Is grand the right word? I think we're giving him too much credit. Let's not gas up Jimothy too much when he's not here. He'll think we miss him. The baka. Killian Can says he's seen it. Meowku's seen it. Russet Man's seen it. Yeah, okay. So other people do know what I'm talking about. I didn't just hallucinate that whole anime. It's good. I thought it was funny. But says Killian Can says it's Hayore Nyaruko-san. Yeah, I thought it was like Nyaruko-chan or something like that. Yeah, it's a few years since I saw it, so it's good though. Nyaruko crawling with love. And yeah, she's like, I'm the crawling chaos that brings you love. It's a few years since I saw it, but I seem to remember really enjoying it. Or it's like, I'm the chaos that comes at you with a smile or something. Fatal Otaku says that was like 15 years ago, I think. I mean, I think I probably saw it like 5 years ago. It was pretty cute. Just speaking of Eldritch abominations, that maybe it would be alright to worship. HJ5 says, were you confused by all the Kamen Rider references in it? I wouldn't get any Kamen Rider references. I really don't have any experience of watching that. But it probably just went over my head. You know, like the references to American commercials and like Family Guy. They just seem random if you don't know what they're referencing. So, you know, that can be funny in its own way. I did find that with that kind of wave of sort of Power Rangers-y kind of shows recently. You know, there was Miss, what's her name, from the Monster Development Department, and then there was Love After World Domination, and I liked both of those shows, but there was a lot of references to that kind of genre of television which I had no experience of watching. So a lot of the time it kind of just goes over your head. You know, you can still enjoy it, you know, but it just seems more random than you getting the reference. The Anime Cowboy says, explosion! Although I don't have to pass out after doing that. Your mum's Oshi says, I was just having a conversation about Ishinomori, and I hear you mention Kamen Rider in the background. I don't know much about Kamen Rider, though. I was just reading out something that someone asked me, because I didn't know anything about Kamen Rider when I watched that anime that apparently has lots of references to it. I did kind of get the in One Punch Man there's like Mugen Rider or whatever, and it's just a guy on a bike and he's trying to help everybody out. I did kind of get that reference, but yeah. Meowki says, religion spends centuries trying to convince us evil is disgusting and to be avoided. Anime happens. Anime could never be disgusting. It's pure art in its purest form. Especially isekai. But yeah, when it comes to the Lovecraftian stuff, I do like how they just make them waifus. Although there was one where it was an angel, wasn't it? Like Gabriel Dropout. That was pretty good as well. A comedy about an angel and a demon. I liked that one too. I like it when they get the mystical eldritch creatures and just make them into waifus. Marcus Aurelius says, what brand of cigarettes? I'm smoking a Rocky Patel 1990 anniversary series cigar. That's quite fancy. I'm smoking a Camel Blue. But like I said, I don't like to talk about it when I'm... Because I do smoke when I'm streaming, because I smoke in general, and my office area is the part of the house where I smoke. So to relax, I will have a cigarette from time to time. But I'm not sure what qualifies as like glamorizing smoking or whatever. So I try to deny that I'm smoking cigarettes. HJ5 says, how about The Devil's a Part-Time? I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that and I've read it. I really like it. Killian Can says, what's the game name? Sucker for Love. I haven't played that. I don't know about that. Miyaki says, what's that? You're the devil and destroyer of worlds, but you're a cute waifu. Whatever. Yeah, but like, they are cute waifus. There's the demon girl next door as well. That's quite cute. Marcus Aurelius says, Camel Blue, cool. Just helping everyone build their Natalie mental avatar. Miyaki says glamorizing smoking or keeping your brain chemistry working. Well, Meowku, I know you gave up and you're feeling a little bit like into missing doing what I'm doing right now. So I'm not going to rub it in. The Anime Cowboy says, would you get in trouble if you call SIGs by their British name? I'm not sure about that, actually, because that is something I say all the time when I'm talking to other English people. If you don't know, what is in America a slur for gay people is in England just slang for a cigarette. And so a lot of British people still say it because to mean cigarette, you know. But it isn't a word you can say live or on YouTube or whatever. So I've always wondered about that, because it is kind of a harmless word in English, you know, like in British sort of speech, it's a harmless word because you're using it to refer to an inanimate object, you know. Whereas if you were using it as a slur, then it would be an offensive word to use for somebody. But I don't know. I don't say it online, but I do say it in real life quite often if I'm talking to other British people. Not that I talk to other British people that often, apart from my dad. But HJ5 says, I doubt it, but there are Twitter freaks out there. No, I mean, I think anybody who knew the context of why you were saying it would understand that it just has a different meaning in the UK. And for British people to say it with that meaning is kind of like normal. It's not even something you'd find offensive if like a child said it, you know. It's not offensive at all. It's just a slang term for a cigarette. But because a lot of the demonetization and stuff like that is done by automated checks, they're not going to know whether I'm talking about cigarettes or using a slur, you know. And so I feel like I shouldn't say it. Asmeister1989 says, I vaguely remember said slur word also being used to name a German burger-like product from many years ago. Also, I'm British. Yeah, there are like a meatball type product that is called the same thing. Yeah. I don't really... Like, in some ways, some words that have become slurs, I just don't really see that they're that offensive. Like, I don't think it's that bad to say the R word, unless you're, like, talking to somebody who is suffering from, you know, like a mental disability or something. If you're calling them that, then that's one thing. If you're just saying a concept is that, I don't really think it's offensive. Whereas, you know, the ones that have historically been used to be very cruel to people of certain types, you know, whether it's to be cruel to gay people or black people or something like that, then yeah, I don't think you should say them. But there are also like situations where those words mean something else in a different language or in a different culture, and they're never meant to be offensive in those situations. So, you know, Miyaki says it's scary as a Brit to even refer to the bundle of sticks or food product. Yeah, I mean, the reason why it became slang for cigarettes is because it was originally just a word for a bundle of sticks, and that's kind of like what they look like. So that's why it became slang. It was never meant to be anything to do with anything. But, you know, because in America it meant something else. My dad actually, like, my dad used to smoke, and while he was working on a ship, one time he had to like climb up the top of a mast, and it was really scary, and he had to do some stuff right in the middle of like the Atlantic or something. He came down, and all of the other crew were American, and he just said, I really need one of them right now. Meaning he needed a cigarette. But the Americans didn't know that that was an English slang for a cigarette, and they thought he was gay. They thought he'd basically come down from doing something difficult and said, I really need to have gay sex now. You know? Meowku says, funny thing, there's a computer term, abbreviation for number used once. That's an offensive term in British, but God forbid there's any consideration when it's an offensive British term. Yeah. No, I know what you're getting at. I don't tend to say anything that might get me cancelled. Partly because I think if people just don't get it, then they might think I actually mean some harm by it. Also just because I like not being demonetized. But it's just kind of, there are things that you consider like that. You know, like when you're asking me, you can hear me lighting a cigarette and you ask me what brand I smoke or whatever. You know, that's a normal thing to ask someone. We're all adults here. I'm legally allowed to smoke and everything. But I know that some people don't think that you should smoke, and that, you know, if a streamer does it, then are they trying to make it look cool to young people or something? And it's like, no, it's just something I'm doing while I'm online. But I don't know if I'm allowed to sort of talk about that, so I kind of want to say, no, I'm just lighting an incense stick so I can pray to the Lord, you know. So I can pray to Nyako-chan. Olarin says, that's a pretty funny story though. Imagine ripping, God, I could really use a man right now in public. Well, that's basically what he did, but he didn't realise. He thought he was just saying, I want a cigarette. Johnny says, I mean, sometimes you just need release and aren't picky about it. I think my mother might have had a problem with it if he'd been coming down from masts and wanting a man straight away, you know. In fact, I probably wouldn't exist if that was something that he was into. Marcus Aurelius says, I like learning English offensive words compared to American words. They're richer and truer. What I find really interesting is, like, where I live in Italy, different things are offensive. Like, they don't really find, like, sexual or, you know, like, bodily function related swear words to be offensive at all. But they find blasphemy very offensive. So, like, when Italian people learn to speak English, like my ex-boyfriend could speak English pretty much fluently, he would just swear constantly because it just, like, saying fuck or whatever just wasn't offensive at all to anybody in Italian. But if you say something like about God or the Madonna, that is, like, horrifying, you know? Like, people find that really offensive, but they'll just go around saying, like, all the sexual swear words and the scatological ones and all that without a second thought. Like, I remember saying to him one time, can you just, like, tone it down a bit? Because you just swear constantly around, like, my parents and stuff. And I, you know, they're not offended by it or anything, but it's like, do you not know that that's not polite? Because it's just culturally very different. Like, you know, like, anything like that you can just say, you know. Whereas in the UK, it's kind of the reverse. Like, if a little kid says, oh, Jesus Christ, you don't think anything of it, you don't tell them off or whatever. Whereas if they say fuck, you will tell them off because, you know, kids aren't supposed to use that kind of language. And it's kind of the opposite here, where, like, if I want to say, like, an exclamation if I hurt myself or something, you know, like, to actually, for it to mean anything, you have to say something about God or something about... And they're weird as well, like, the swearing that they have is like, God is a pig or God is a wolf or some weird thing like that, you know?
Whereas like that you know, like if a child said that in England, you'd just be like, whatever, you know. you wouldn't even think to tell them off for it. But you know, here they'll just swear in the way that we consider swearing, which is usually like sexual or, you know, bodily functions related, you know, all the time. But they don't really see that as even remotely offensive. But like blasphemy is very, you know, like important to them, that you don't do that, or you don't do it in public, or you feel a bit like risky if you do it, you know. So it's kind of interesting. HJ5 says, funny one to me is there's a Transformer whose original name is a UK slur, and they tried to change it nowadays. Which one is that? Is there like a Transformer called like Nonce or something? I don't know. Marcus Aurelius says, God, I enjoy these streams. Thank you, Miss Hunter. Thank you very much, Marcus. You are a very good Roman emperor. Ramma Leopard says, the Triceratops Dinobot, he was called Slag. Was he really? The Slag. There's a Transformer called Slag. Like your mum's a slag. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah, okay. But slag does also mean like it has other meanings. But yeah, the main one in the UK is well, it's just the same as like slut, really. It's the same as that, but we like to say slag because it sounds good. Like, shut it, you slag. I think when I was a kid, though, I would have just found that more funny, that one of the Dinobots was called Slack. Like, probably just made it more cool to British kids. Corpse Monkey says it's unrefined parts of metal. Yeah, I mean, like, it does have an actual meaning beyond your mum's a slag, you know, but in Britain, it's kind of, it is just used, it's kind of a lightweight insult. It's not like a big old slur. It's not something you'd find like horribly offensive. It's just, you know, Miyako says, your mum's a Dinobot, doesn't have the same ring. Russetman says, don't slag shame that Transformer now. Well, it was a Triceratops. I think he could take care of himself if you called his mum a slag. You know. Mentats says, I had a teacher who said douche was a slur against women. It's not though, is it? It's a product that only women would use. But being called one is normally something you say about men. Ramalepa says they've since retconned it to slug to avoid it being a slur. HJ5 says actually there was also one they wanted to name Spastic before they found out the meaning and changed it before the toy released. Yikes! I remember when that became a slur, you know, like back in the day when I was a kid, that was a thing that you would say all the time. And then it suddenly was a slur and you weren't allowed to say it anymore. And then, you know, the same thing happened with certain other words, like the R word, which I still admittedly do say around my friends. I don't say it online because I don't want to get cancelled. But I don't really think it does any harm to say words like that if you're not addressing someone who actually has those kind of conditions. You're not like bullying somebody. You're just saying that idea is this, you know. Yeah. slag. They tried to change it to slug so that people... Do they not say that in America then? You need to borrow some of our insults. Because I would say it's an insult rather than a slur. Because it's not really aimed at any specific group of people. It's just, you know, something you say to insult somebody. It means a promiscuous woman, but, it, you know, you can say it to pretty much anyone. Russet Man says, intent and context are also part of the meaning behind words. A lot of that can be lost online. Yeah, I think that's true. But that's why we have emojis. Mentat says, I say the R word all the time on Twitter. You can't cancel someone who has nothing to lose. Yeah, I have some stuff to lose, though. Like all of you. Corpse Monkey says we don't use slag in the States. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it quite freely, even though if it was an insult that was used commonly in America, I'd probably not say it so that I don't get banned. You should use it, though, because it's quite satisfying to say. Shut it, you slag. You feel like Jason Statham when you say it, you know. I believe we are having an ad break. How lame is that? What have we got here? HJ5 says, I assume if slag was a US slur, they wouldn't have used that name, and only found out when they started selling the toy in the UK. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of funny though that happened. Anakru says, fuckwit is my favourite. Oh, you can get more creative than that, though. I love making up new swear words. I just can't say any of them on Twitch. Enlius says, hello, Nat. Hello. Mentat says, subscriber Master Race doesn't see ads. Yeah, well, I'm very happy for those of you who are subscribers, but not everybody's either been lucky enough to be around when somebody's done some gift subs or, you know. Yeah, Mentats, I like that one too, but, like, again, I don't know if I can say it on here. I do say it in person quite often. Well, come on, you know I've got some friends who are Australian, you know? Like, they just say it all the time. You should see the private conversations I have with SB. We just swear constantly. Cab says, my go-to is usually Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Vongala Sadici says, I prefer classic Red Foreman Dumbass. I like to call people a wanker. Because that just sounds, you just feel really English when you say it. You can get creative with that too, though. I used to like to say you're a wanksmith and a master of the trade, you know. Thank you, Marcus Aurelius. It appears you have given me something on coffee. It was very, very kind of you. And I love you very much. And you can have adas. Anat Crow says, not being able to say, see you next Tuesday is discrimination against Aussies and Scots. Yeah. Especially Aussies, like that's their favourite word. They love it. Scots can probably get away with it because they, you know, like the AIs probably don't pick it out in their accents. HJ5 says, or tosser. Yeah, tosser's good as well. You tosser. You slag. Gamdi511 says, did you watch Fairy Tail? Yeah, I've watched all of Fairy Tail. I like Fairy Tail a lot. You might have noticed I like have a little influence of Urza Scala on my character design, even though I'm just like Megumin today. But yeah, I really like Fairy Tail. Mentat says, the F word is pretty versatile, as Boondock Saints taught me. I only first watched those movies, the 2 Boondock Saints movies, like last year, because my dad was talking about a part of it. And I was like, oh, I haven't seen it. And he was like, well, you must watch it right now. And so we watched both of them. They're so good. Meowku says, I just drop my accent and start talking posh, slow and enunciated, effing a-hole wanker. Well, my accent's already a little bit posh. I tend to go the other way when I'm drinking in the pub and I want to sound like one of the lads, you know. I start to go more and more Cockney. Russet Man says, I look at Avatar The Last Airbender stuff and keep on smiling, knowing what the UK meaning for bender is. Like, what kind of bender are you? Quiz, a whole new meaning. Yeah, I remember when that came out. I lived in America at the time. And, like, the movie was awful, obviously. But, you know, all of those lines about benders were in the cartoon, you know, which was good. But it was like, you could let it slide because you were, like, immersed in the world. But when you watch the movie and it's just, like, these wooden actors going on about benders, it's just like, I mean, I thought it was funny that Bender was a character in Futurama when that first came out. I was like, does nobody know what that means in England? I guess we just have our own special slang for things. Can't believe we started out talking about cigarettes and it came to this. But yeah, the Avatar The Last Airbender movie, the terrible M. Night Shyamalan movie, was unironically funny to British people, you know. And yeah, the same jokes would apply to the TV series, but the TV series somehow managed to, like, immerse you enough that you didn't really think about it being funny. Same as Futurama, you just once you've laughed at it once, you don't really think about the word bender anymore. But that movie was so awful and awkward that you couldn't not think about it. Russet Man says, okay, but with bender that adds to the joke. It does, but it also doesn't, because it doesn't really have anything to do with his, like, character, you know. It's just a funny word, but it doesn't really have anything to do with him. Mentat says, you're not smoking, you're lighting tobacco incense. Yes, so I can pray to the Lord, Nyako-chan. We're establishing new law all the time here on my Twitch channel. Johnny says, one British swear I find amusing is bell end. I love saying that, though. I do wonder how many, like, American people learn all these British swear words just from watching, like, Zero Punctuation. Corpse Monkey says he's bender because he's an alcoholic. Yeah, but bender doesn't mean alcoholic as an English slang word. We call alcoholics piss artists. Bender Bending Rodriguez is a bending robot specifically built to bend. Yes, he is. Not Laggy says, what is a bell end? Well, the meaning of bell end is the shape of the end of a penis. But you just use it to refer to someone, you know, you think is a bit of a slag. You know, you just call him a bell end. I feel like a teacher now. Like, I'm educating people about what a bell end is. We learn things on this channel. We learn about slags and bell ends. and all the other swear words I can probably get away with saying because they're specific to Britain. Johnny says it's fun to say, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It is one of those that's fun to say. I also really like the word we have for people who have an inappropriate interest in children, since I can't say the proper word for that without getting demonetized. We call them nonces, and I find that quite a fun word to say to someone. Enlius says, is tosser a swear? Not really. You wouldn't really want to hear like a 6-year-old say it, you know. But if you said it in like a work meeting or something, you wouldn't get fired. It just means wanker. But Meowku says a tosser is someone who tosses. Yeah, of course. Like a wanker is someone who wanks. But a bellend isn't someone who bells. A bellend is a prick. My favourite British insult is smeghead. The fungus that grows on an uncircumcised penis is smegus. It's literally penis fungus face. Well, that one was really popularised by Red Dwarf. But I think it's smegma, not smegus. Like, technically. I don't think it's anything to do with being circumcised or not. I think it's just what grows on your penis if you don't keep yourself clean, you know. But because there's that fridge company called Smeg, you know, they make the fancy fridges. I think it's a German company. And so you go in a lot of people's houses and they've just got this big thing with Smeg written on it. It makes you laugh. Oh, I got a text. I feel like we've really degenerated. Like, I thought maybe we would talk about some anime, some stuff like that, but we've definitely just spent like literally half an hour just talking about swear words and trying to get away with what we can say. Hopsco21 says, you look like Mitsuru person 3. I don't know what that means. I look like a lot of things though. Not least, unfortunately, bitch from Shield Hero. Balsamon says, I think Lord of the Rings named a dragon after the penis fungus. No, he's Smorg, not Smeg. Balsamon says, what are you watching of the seasonal anime? Mostly gushing over magical girls at the moment. Not Laggy says, imagine bragging about how big your smeg is out of context. Or like, I really, really want to get this smeg in my kitchen. It just looks amazing. It's big and green. Oh, Mitsuru is a character from Persona 3. Okay, yeah, he was saying you look like Mitsuru from Persona 3. Okay. I haven't played Persona 3, but I hope that's a nice character, so. Meowki says, I did something terrible and watched Tsukimichi dubbed. Why did you do that? Tsukimichi's good, though. I like Tsukimichi. But it's a season 2, so, you know, I don't count it as a new thing that I'm watching. Cap says, did you ever catch up on Frieren? Yeah, I'm still sort of working my way through it. I had a bit of a setback, you know, because last week I was away and the week before that my grandfather died and stuff, and I was a bit down in the dumps. I wasn't really in the mood to be watching stuff, so then I watched Gushing Over Magical Girls because Balsamon told me it would be funny. And it was. You know, I think I'm still an episode behind though because I was away last week. Because when I go to my dad's, I normally just watch his Netflix, since I don't have it at home. Mentat says, I like how Utena's entire demeanour voice changes when she gets turned on. Yeah, the voice actress is really good. I'm not sure who plays her, actually, but she does a great job. Meowku says, gushing over magical girls. Came for the plot, stayed for the plot. I came for the jokes and stayed for the jokes and plot. And I stayed for all of it. Johnny says, oh, the last episode was great. Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. I'll probably watch it tomorrow. Because I got a bit behind where I was away last week for my birthday. You know, my little meowy birthday I had last week. Can't believe it was a week ago already. It was a very good birthday. The cat sushi robot sang happy birthday to me and everything. And that's really all a girl can ask for. Now, I was thinking for a topic for an upcoming stream. I would quite like to talk about love and dating and relationships and how weird the internet's being, you know? You know, things like the red pill type people and all of that, and just how far removed from reality I think it all is. So I think maybe tomorrow I'll do a stream that's kind of a bit more focused on one topic, and we can talk about that kind of thing. And it will still get derailed, you know. We'll still probably end up talking about bell ends or something, but, you know. But I think I'm going to wrap this one up because we have just ended up, you know, messing around, which is kind of what I wanted to do tonight, really, just mess around and all that. But I'm getting tired and my voice is going a bit because it's freezing in here. Captain Ellen Starr says, does the cat sing in Japanese or Italian? It sang in Italian. Yeah, it sang happy birthday to me in Italian. Turns out the cat robot is actually like a big thing in Poland. They have them in like Carrefour supermarkets in Poland, and like when you go in there, it will bring over whatever's like promotional and like greet people and stuff. Like over here I've only ever seen one, and it's in this one restaurant. But yeah, they are apparently like a big meme in Poland. And someone was telling me about this on Twitter. And it kind of makes me want to go and live in Poland. But I think Poland would be even colder, wouldn't it? Junk44203 says, red pill people started off with improving men. Now they just seem to be a crazy rabbit hole of being shitty to women. Yeah, like, I mean, I can get the need for, like, men's rights activists even, you know, I can get the need for people to stick up for men. I do that, you know. I'm a woman, but I do stick up for men when people are picking on them, you know, in that way. I think everybody's got their problems, and, you know, it's never a bad thing to try and support people who have problems. But it became this weird thing where, you know, I've had people sort of go off at me in comment sections of videos, like, oh, you're post-wall and all this sort of thing, and, you know, like, you shouldn't have had a career and should have had children and done all this and that, and that's why you're alone. And it's like, well, it's not though, you know. the reason I'm single is because I was in a long-term relationship and he broke up with me because, you know, I didn't do anything wrong, he didn't do anything wrong, it just stopped working for him, and so we broke up. And that left me kind of not really wanting to get straight into another relationship, and so I'm single. And it's nothing to do with being post-wall or regretting my decisions or anything. you know, or having put off being in a relationship, I was in a relationship, you know. It just, like, all of this worldview they have, and they're like, oh, you just want to wait until you get like the 6 foot chads and all this sort of thing. I'm like, I'm 6 foot myself, and of the 4 long-term relationships I've had, only one of them was taller than me, you know. It's just kind of like, they think you want all this stuff and you don't. You want someone compatible that's fun to be around, and they're like, oh, women will turn down all these men. And yet I'm like, go outside, go to any place where there are couples and families, and look at the people in those couples and families, you know. The men aren't all 6 foot, 6-figure chads. The women aren't all 16, you know. Like, that's not what anybody really actually looks for in the real world. And so that's kind of what I think. I just think, yeah. J-Man says, I think it's an underused idea. Every sushi place needs a robot cat. I think it would lose some of its charm if every sushi place had a robot cat. You know, that's why I picked that restaurant. Because there are quite a lot of sushi restaurants around where my dad lives. And we go to them, you know, normally when I'm there, because who doesn't like all-you-can-eat sushi? And he was like, where do you want to go for your birthday? And I was like, cat robot sushi. Because there's a cat robot, you know? If they all had cat robots, then it wouldn't be special. Could probably go for like cat robot Greek food or something, you know? Meowky says, are you still setting up a Discord? Yeah, I haven't been that enthusiastic about it. I will get onto it. Maybe that's something I should work on tomorrow. I just know that once I make it live, it's like opening a Pandora's box of like having to be on Discord 24/7, you know? J-Man says, good point, but crossing the ocean for sushi and cat robots is a bit much. I need one closer by. Yeah, it seems like if you go to Poland, you can just get it at the supermarket. It's like cat robots everywhere. Which made me start to think, can you get one for your house? You know? Like, that's got to be living the dream, hasn't it? Have a cat robot butler for your house. That's better than a Roomba. I think I'd be forever content if I had one of those. Just bringing me things and being all meowy. Don't think I'd need a boyfriend if I had a cat robot butler. And on that delightful daydream, Meowky says, yeah, the Pandorica opens. It is that though, isn't it? It's like, I already spend enough time on Twitter. It's like, once I've got the Discord server, I'm never going to be out of there. But it will be a positive thing. It will be good. I'm just a bit scared of it. Because, you know, my community is international, and that means that 24 hours a day, there's people I would want to be talking to. And sometimes that can get a bit overwhelming, even on Twitter. Sometimes I take a few days off. Not because I don't want to talk to everybody, but because just like the notifications and that get a bit intense. And so, you know, I feel like with the Discord server, it's like we have a private place to talk and that, and it's going to be good, but it's also going to be intense. So we'll see how it goes anyway. I probably will launch it in the next few days. I'm still tinkering with it on the back end, but it's probably ready. It's just that whole like making it public thing. Once that's done, you know, I don't have any moderators or anything. I'm going to be running the whole thing myself, like I do with everything else. And it's going to be kind of intense. So Russet Man says, you need folks to moderate the Discord so you can just lurk. And I, random internet stranger, am proud to not be that person. Yeah, I mean, like, there would be people who would be okay with moderating for me, I'm sure. But it's also like, if it's my server, then if I'm not interacting on there, then I'm not getting any of the benefits of having it, you know, like I want feedback or ideas or memes or whatever to use on streams and in videos and stuff. And just as another place where I can talk to you guys, maybe where we can say things like bell end, you know. It's not always just on X, you know. And so, you know, I do want to be engaged. I always have been someone who prioritizes engaging with people. That's my personality. I'm kind of extroverted and stuff, and so even with my YouTube channel and stuff, I reply to as many comments as I can. I talk to everybody I can on X and all that sort of thing, and it's not out of like optics or whatever. It's just out of, that's why I do these things in the first place, you know. So I really want to make the Discord work, but you know, it's going to be new to me to have that kind of a community where it's sort of focused around me rather than just a network of people, you know, like on X. But still, we will have it and we will see how it goes, and I'm sure it'll be fun. But I think, oh, we've got an ad break again. Yeah. But I think I'm going to end the stream. And I'll see you lovely friends tomorrow.